Hello and welcome. I'm here in downtown Healdsburg today with Ruby of the law offices of Ruby Steinbrecher. And today we're going to talk about estate planning and gift funds in a real estate transaction. Welcome, Ruby.
Thank you so much for having me, CJ.
Let's start with some of the basics. And the basics that I would want to start with is estate planning, and when should you start your estate planning, especially if you're interested in purchasing a home?
That's a great question. When you are entering a real estate transaction is actually one of the points that people most frequently realize, oh, I probably should get a trust. That is the most common reason that people call me. So really, when someone is entering a real estate transaction is when this topic tends to come up most frequently. In the state of California, probate is the court process by which the state oversees transfer of assets when someone passes away to their legal heirs. And our court system, as many of us know, is severely antiquated, under-resourced. And so we want to avoid court. And that is where proactive estate planning comes in. So probate is required when someone who passes away owned real estate or had assets in excess of $184,500. So until someone is an owner of real estate, it might not occur to them that they need to do their own proactive estate planning to ensure that their family does not have to go through the headache of probate if something happens to them.
So in California, it's pretty easy to hit that number pretty quickly.
Especially here in where we live, Sonoma County, with our property values being so high. The other downside of probate is that you definitely need an attorney because it's a super complicated process. And the fees that are paid to the attorney in probate are set by the probate code, and it's a percentage of the value of your whole estate, and they do not deduct the mortgage from that. So most of us, our primary asset is real estate. And if we're here in Sonoma County, it is easily worth more than $1 million. And when you're having to pay attorney fees, that's a percentage of that value, you end up with extremely high fees that you want to avoid. Because oftentimes, if that asset is the primary asset of the estate, then the family doesn't even have the option to keep the house if they have to pay those really high attorney fees.
Lesson learned. Put your property in the name of your trust.
That's exactly right.
yourself.
Yes. And so estate planning is really an umbrella term because estate planning can be done through insurance, with your financial advisor, and then, of course, your legal documents. And so for me, when I'm talking about estate planning, we're talking about your legal documents. And the documents you need to avoid probate is a properly executed trust and have your assets, your real estate and your bank accounts titled in the name of that trust. And that's how you ensure that your trust is effective and will work.
So there's a little work for people to be done once they get their trust created, because you have to get your bank statements and your house into the name of the trust.
And a lot of people don't realize that estate planning is not a one and done kind of activity. Sure, most of your work is at the front end. When you establish your estate plan, you get all your documents together, you sign it, you fund all of your assets into it. My office does provide funding services, always handle transferring the title of real estate, though, to the trust, because that involves creating and recording a deed, which you want to have done by an attorney or a title company to make sure it's done correctly. So we always do the title of properties, and then it's up to the client, depending on how complicated their situation is and how much they're willing to pay in fees, of whether we'll give them instructions on how to retitle all of their other assets into the trust or whether our office will handle it for them. But yes, there is work to be done by the client. So if you're willing to pay for the services, it's a lot less work for the client.
Well, and it's worth it to not have any of those assets go through probate.
Exactly.
So you're eliminating that additional expense that you would had run into.
For example, an estate that's valued at $1 million. I recently had a probate. The only asset in it was a house. The house was valued at right around 1 million. It was like 1 million won or something like that. So the attorney fees on that is $21,000. So you're looking at a really big difference in cost and the peace of mind to having it done, and that you know you've done everything you can to make sure that your family and friends don't have to go through the mess and cost of probate.
And there's time involved in that too, isn't there? If you have to go through probate as opposed to clearing everything out through the trust.
Yeah, when you go through probate, your family has no control. The court is in control. And as I said before, our court system is antiquated, under-resourced. Everything takes forever. This probate that I'm about to complete right now, very simple. I mean, there are 2 beneficiaries. There is no one fighting. There is one asset. 16 months is how long the family has had to wait in order to get the court order saying, yes, we approve. Yes, you can distribute. And then now we're finally going to be able to distribute the funds to the heirs and pay my fees.
Wow. Does the court expect to have fees paid to them upfront?
Yes. All the court fees are paid up front. So whomever the person is that steps in, the family member or friend, to handle the probate on behalf of the deceased person will have to come out of pocket for all of these initial costs. And that is usually for about 3 months until the court issues the letters of administration, which is the legal document giving them authority to access bank accounts and reimburse themselves for those costs. So there's about a 3-month window when somebody needs to come up with money to pay for things on behalf of the estate.
So why would someone who's younger have to worry about things like this?
Well, unfortunately, we all just lived through the biggest cautionary tale ever, which was COVID. And people passed away who we did not expect to have any health issues or who were not old. And so that's my best example. And then, of course, through my years of experience and actually my own personal life experience that prompted me to become an estate planning attorney was because of the loss of my dad when I was very young, the loss of my older brother when he was in his 30s. He was in Thailand in the tsunami. And these are just completely out of left field, unexpected events that just proves to me time and time again that you never know when something is going to happen or who it's going to happen to. And especially people who have kids with kids who are under 18, you care who's going to raise your kids. You care how they're going to be raised, where they're going to be raised, what kind of money they have access to and when. And that is all incorporated into comprehensive estate planning.
So it's really never too early to start.
Exactly. I mean, we even have something that we talk about a lot that doesn't get covered is people not realizing that their adult children who just went off to college, they no longer have legal authority to make medical decisions on their behalf or access a bank account that maybe they opened at a credit union or something like that. And unfortunately, I've seen it happen where the adult child gets into an accident and is injured or something happens, and the parents are limited on how much they can help their adult child who's still completely dependent on them. They just happen to be over 18.
Interesting. Very interesting. So start early.
Yeah, exactly.
18.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you really should start planning at that point.
Yeah, I do a lot of, for when I'm doing planning for folks who are in 50s to 60s, they tend to have teenagers and maybe kids who are about to go to college or who have already gone to college. And so we will often add in a young adult plan that we fold into theirs that they pay for on behalf of their child. And we get all of that in order at the same time. Because if we're doing it and we're being comprehensive, let's be actually comprehensive and make sure everyone is covered, not just your minor children.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.